Steve Cochran is a self-proclaimed Christian prophet. He lives and breathes impending doom and has built an impressive audience around his dreams and visions of nuclear war, of foreign troops invading the homeland, complete societal breakdown, and similar types of ultimate SHTF scenarios. He is a zealous Christian, which I can totally respect, who believes he has a direct line to God and that he is being sent prophetic messages regarding end-time events as well as the specific timeline to tribulation. It should be noted that his timeline is regularly modified and updated, as are his prophecies. Typically, whenever his prophetic word goes off the rails and fails to materialize, which is, as far as I can tell, almost every time, he comes back with some kind of explanation as to why he didn't quite understand it before. Nevertheless, every day in this man's mind is one day closer to the end of the world. From an objective perspective, Steve Cochran is an enthusiastic member of what Chris Hedges would call the crisis cult. Crisis cults are comprised of folks who are gravely obsessed with the imminent judgment of God for two reasons. The first is their intense desire to be freed from this harsh, pain-filled, wicked world and to be teleported to heaven where they can worship God and live in bliss for eternity. The second is that they fervently yearn for those who have opposed, oppressed, or transgressed against them, the Most High, or what they stand for, to finally get what they deserve. Punishing, cataclysmic, medieval justice.
God woke me out of my sleep. You're going to want to hear this, folks. God woke me out of my sleep, and for several hours, God was giving me what he wanted the show to be. People don't even understand why America is about to experience what we are going to experience. Starting about 5 years ago, America began to see what God was exposing, though nothing happened, exposing all the corruption and illegal activities in all the government agencies. If it was funded by the government, you could almost count on it was corrupted. Criminals inside these organizations. Even into the Obama administration, we saw criminal activity, and we're going to take a look at that just a little bit. And the crazy thing is, the Democratic Party's nominee was probably one of the worst criminals that America has ever seen. And what happened? Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. No justice. No smiting of the radical left, the filthy commies, or the Democratic Party. But according to Cochran's holy bat signal, God will eventually make it happen. And because he's just as passionate about Trump as Alex Jones is,
hold up President Trump before the creator of the universe, and we say thank you.
Because he is all in with the red hat ideology, on par with Alex Jones, Cochran had maintained for some time that by decree of the Lord, King Trump was here to stay.
So President Trump doesn't leave office. That's Steve Cochran's prophecy. He may have an assassination on him, but he won't die. He may get impeached, but he doesn't leave. He has been voted out, and he's not going to hand it over to Biden. I'm promising you, it's a prophecy that I've known for forever, and I didn't have the reasons. And now, just watch the news. You can see this is where we're headed. He's not going to go anywhere.
There you have it, the Steve Cochran prophecy from early December. When the fraud talk was in full effect, Trump was defiant as ever. His elite strike force was striking out with bunk lawsuits around the country. Conservative talk news and radio had amped up the propaganda to level 10, and the chatter on Parler was escalating. Through hell or high water, rebellion or martial law, which Cochran is totally fine with, Trump was supposedly here to stay. He was very confident God had spoken.
I have been saying for years over on YouTube, several TV broadcasts, and in my book called The Graph that was wrote years ago, President Trump is not going to leave the White House, not until certain events happen. President Trump goes nowhere.
And then the riot/rebellion happened, as Cochran prophesied. But it's not like it came as a surprise. Trump had been advertising his wild event for weeks, urging his cult/militia to come on down to DC for Biden certification. The FBI had warned of, quote, war in the days leading up to the 6th, in total contradiction of those who claim there was no indication of violence. But according to Steve Cochran, who again repeatedly modifies his prophecies to fit real-life events, God had told him what was to come. Rebellion, martial law, King Trump. Did I already mention that Cochran is totally cool with martial law as a ploy to install Mad King Trump? And sure enough, after Trump built it, the insurrection militia The radicals and white nationalists came, pissed off and ready to rumble with zip ties and Confederate flags. They killed a cop, threw up a functional noose, beat on cops and journalists, and hunted down prominent lawmakers and politicians. The televised images shocked the world while Trump basically sat back, watched, and waited for his violent, seditious coup to turn in his favor. And while the frothing mob chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," Trump was tweeting indignation directly at Pence himself and calling senators under siege and in hiding on their cell phones with more requests to deny Biden's certification. He seemingly did not lift a finger to stop the violence. When all was said and done, Trump was forced to concede, though it was obvious he was just trying to distance himself from the mob to avoid legal jeopardy. He has taken no responsibility and will continue to lie and throw everyone else under the bus to save his own skin. He is guilty of treason, sedition, and insurrection, and he must be held accountable.
God rises up men who are real men, like President Trump.
But watching Cochran's latest message preceding the violence he supposedly prophesied, you have to ask yourself, is this guy really Christian? As in, does he really hold Christian values and subscribe to the teachings of Jesus? It's clear that he has no moral issues with the violence, murder, and now suicide in the aftermath, all spurred by the riot. He has no problem with the overt and shameful acts of sedition and insurrection. He wants martial law, and he wants it now. He just seems to be confused as to why the Dems want Trump out immediately and have been pushing for the 25th. That's what's been perplexing him. Why now? With only a few days left, why force him out, he's wondering. It's incredibly bizarre. Ultimately, the whole purpose of this video to show you just how brainwashed and zombified folks like this highly inaccurate Christian prophet really are.
Some of you are worried, and that's understandable based on all outward appearances. Looks like Trump has conceded. Up until the 7th, even the night of before the 6th, he even put hope in Mike Pence when he would be certifying the electoral votes. So there was even a hope in Pence decertifying. What are you certifying if you can't decertify? The electoral votes, are they legit? Certify, you throw that out if you don't agree with that being correct. He had that power, but he didn't use it. I'm saying on the 7th, he did another speech that it looks like he concedes he's transferring power. He did leave a crazy comment at the end for those that supported him. Your journey has just begun. It's like a cryptic message that I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. It's almost like there's something else that's going to be in play. I would like to think he has backups to his backups, and there's something else there. They're starting to talk impeachment, the 25th Amendment, resign immediately. If you're the Democratic Party and you've really hated him, doesn't matter how much, if you know everything's fine and he's gone in 11 days, 10 days, can't you wait 10 days? Why do you have to invoke the 25th Amendment right now? Why do you got to get that done right now? Why do you want to resign immediately right now? It's as if I think they know something. They know something's up.
He's not concerned with the fragility of democracy. He's not concerned that a cop was murdered, bombs were planted, or that they erected a noose likely for the purpose of executing politicians. He just doesn't get why Trump isn't king. Trump must have some master plan. Trump, the genius he is, must be playing some kind of superhuman 4D chess. But that said, because of what Steve Cochran is seeing with his own two eyes, i.e. the entire world turning against the Donald and his seditious cronies, he's also at the point where he's totally pulling back on his original Trump here to stay prophecy. The one that God supposedly woke him out of a sleep to speak to him directly. The backpedaling is embarrassing to watch and just cringy to the core. Let me show you.
So my thoughts haven't changed. I don't see anything changing. I am waiting to see what's happening. It looks like it's still going to happen. Trump's cryptic messages, our journey's just begun. I don't understand some stuff. I don't pretend to. I only want to understand what God tells me. But nowhere did God ever say, Trump is the man. President Trump is not going to leave the White House, not until certain events happen. So President Trump doesn't leave office. That's Steve Cochran's prophecy. He may have an assassination on him, but he won't die. He may get impeached, but he doesn't leave. he has been voted out, and he's not going to hand it over to Biden. I'm promising you, it's a prophecy that I've known for forever, and I didn't have the reasons. And now just watch the news. You can see this is where we're headed. But nowhere did God ever say Trump is the man.
But Christ's cult members don't care when their prophets get it wrong. They just move on to the next end time scenario. They thirst for it. It turns them on. The prospect of ditching this hole for heaven while everyone else gets it and gets it real bad feeds their vitality. Spreading endless, unrelenting doom and gloom gives them a reason for living. Like this lady, who for years has been forecasting war, natural disasters, disease, death, and suffering, and is now back on the Russia and China invading tip.
I want to share with you a prophetic dream that the Lord gave me on January 6th of 2021. It was a dream that had to do about something that's coming. The dream started like this. I went up to a desk and to talk to a couple of people that were very important and very powerful. They had a lot of influence. I was full of the Holy Spirit, and I was coming to speak to them to get their attention. And it's like the word of the Lord came to me, and I said something similar to this. I said, you have to hearken to my words. You have to listen to my words. Please, something bigger is being planned behind the scenes. This has to do with the government, and they are going to do something to we the people. I've given a word before, or many words before, that have to do with Russia and China invading this nation, and it'll be at the time that the nation is at its weakest, at the time that the nation is divided, at the time when there's civil war, in the nation. And when there is, the nation is divided, and at its weakest point, China and Russia will be attacking by nuclear attack.
Oh, but Dana Coverstone already prophesied that. And yes, he too got it totally wrong. The guy went ultra viral for telling everyone the dollar would collapse, society would collapse, and we'd have Russian and Chinese troops on American soil rounding up folks into prison camps by November/December of last year.
I saw Washington, D.C. burning. I saw Washington, D.C. blazing. I saw fires everywhere. I saw people being rounded up. I saw Chinese and Russian soldiers on the ground. And Russian soldiers were telling the Chinese soldiers to go and pick up these people, round up these people, secure this quadrant, secure this area.
He went so super viral that he started branding and copywriting his so-called prophetic dreams. He might be selling merch now. As Coverstone's profile rose, more crisis cult Christians like Tony Lamb and the Prophecy Club guy came out claiming the rapture was right around the corner sometime in September, screaming that the time was now. And what do you know? No rapture, no foreign invasion. These people are obsessed. But getting back to Cochran and his ever-changing prophetic timeline to wrap this up, you have to wonder what his motives are. He clearly isn't in line with the gospel of Jesus. His purpose isn't to convert more folks to Christianity. He doesn't really give a shit about democracy. He's just a MAGA red hat now. That's it, spreading more propaganda masqueraded as Christian prophecy. But the question still remains, is he just radicalized, foolish, or an agent of evil?